Hey everybody, welcome to Sweater Weather, a podcast about stories. I'm Aaron.
I'm Naomi.
How are you, Naomi? I don't know if this is the most dynamic way to open a podcast.
Yeah, I mean, do you think there's other ways we could do
What
it?
should we do? Talk about the weather? It's even more anodyne.
No, we could just jump in.
Jump in.
Yeah.
I don't know. People usually have banter and stuff at the top.
Well, some don't.
Try to be funny or something.
Like on Books Can Kill, they don't have any banter. They just jump right in.
Well, they just have a cold open. They don't even do. They just start talking, right?
They're just like, so have you read this book? And then they just start talking about it.
I mean, I guess we could do that instead of the formal opening. Just start talking, and when I produce it, I just have the music for a little bit, and then it fades out, and then we're in the middle of a conversation. I guess.
We could definitely start by talking about your sweater.
Right.
Like I could say, hey, welcome to Sweater Weather, Aaron.
Yeah.
And then I could say, this is a nice sweater.
You like it?
Yeah, where'd you get it?
Well, I got this at the Bay a while ago.
The Hudson's Bay.
The Hudson's Bay
department store.
Yeah.
They have great stuff, don't they?
Well, they did. Or did they really? Maybe that was the problem. So, yeah, I mean, so this is a very Canadian topic, thinking about the demise of the Hudson's Bay Company, several 100-year-old company or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And it does, I have to admit, it is like striking me in the nostalgia center a little bit.
Yeah.
To hear that Hudson's Bay is probably going to close entirely.
Yeah, it's shocking.
Is it?
I was shocked to read it.
Oh, you were shocked.
Yeah, because I mean, not only do we have our personal associations with the Bay, but it's part of Canada's history.
Okay, but it is just a department store in the end.
I mean, it is and it isn't,
Mm-hmm.
Like, it used to literally be the government of
Yeah.
Rupert's Land.
Right.
It's been around since 1670.
Yeah.
It's the oldest trading company left, like the Dutch East,
The
Dutch East Indian Company, the Dutch West India Company.
Yeah.
All those trading companies, there's so many of them. And the Bay was the one that was still, I mean, obviously in a completely different form, but it was the last one standing. Not that that's necessarily like a great legacy.
Yeah.
But it's part of like, I remember being kind of confused, learning in history class about the Bay, because I was like,
the Hudson's Bay Company. Yeah.
well, first there's the body of water, the Hudson's Bay.
Yeah.
Like Hudson Bay. It's
Yeah.
called Hudson Bay now.
Is it?
Yeah.
Hudson Bay? Okay.
Yeah. And like learning about that history and learning about like the fur trade, learning about the Hudson's Bay Company, and then being like, what, like the department store that I go to with my mom?
Yeah.
Like it's just kind of like 400 years ago, but also now.
Yeah, it had the same name.
Yeah.
I mean, very little else.
It's the same entity.
Right.
I find that
technically.
significant. You don't. That's fine.
No, I mean, that's part of the story. I mean, for me, it is more like, it is just personal associations with the Bay as a more modern institution for shopping, that they had stores everywhere and you could always find anything there. And usually things were on sale, like 70%. Like if it wasn't 70% off, you shouldn't buy it.
Oh, for sure.
This is like how I always felt about going into the Bay. More often than not, it was 70% off or whatever, 50% off or 2 for 1. And it always struck me as like, how do they make any money if everything is so deeply discounted constantly? So I always liked going to the Bay. I found stuff I liked, but I did always have this little niggling doubt. Like, is this a viable business at all?
Well, it was for a pretty damn long time.
I mean, it was for a long time.
So, Aaron, like, did
coasted.
you have a Bay in your city growing up?
Of course I did.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, any medium-sized city did.
Yeah.
And probably a lot of small cities did even. So, yeah, so I grew up in St. Catharines, Ontario, and the Bay in our I don't know where it had been like historically, but like the mall that opened in the 1960s called the Penn Center, it had a big corner of it that was the Bay.
Mm-hmm.
And there was also part of it that was Eaton's, and part of it that was Sears.
Yeah.
So that's just like a very quick history of failed department stores or just phased out department stores. But the Bay was the last one standing, right? And like as a young adult, okay, like as a teen, when you're a teen boy, like, and I don't know if other people get more guidance like for the way that you dress or go shopping or whatever, but I had
Yeah.
like none. So
Yeah.
the Bay was just like, I wandered in there.
Yeah.
You'd wander around the Penn Center, and there was like there was a sports shop, Arlie's, where everything it was cool if you got something from Arlie's, but it was really expensive.
Mhm.
So didn't often buy much there. But then the Bay was across the hall. And so you go in there and you wander around, and you're like 17-year-old Aaron in like 1997 or something. And I'm like, it's a nice place because they have a little bit of everything. There's a corner where they sell Levi's. There's a corner where they sell Polo, like Ralph Lauren or something. There's a corner where it's just the cheap stuff, like their store brand, like Hagar. I remember that. I think that was a Bay brand.
I don't remember that.
So I think it was a Bay male clothing brand.
Okay.
It may not have been the Bay, but that's the only place I ever saw it. So I assumed it was their brand, or they were whatever. And you could just kind of wander around and not be bothered by anybody, because it was a big enough. It was a big enough space that, and it was so it wasn't really.
It wasn't like the Gap where someone was like, "Hey, what do you want?"
Automatically going into the store
Yeah,
smaller.
yeah.
There's way more merchandise.
Yeah.
And there are salespeople following you around.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you're not confident and you don't like shopping, I just always found that annoying. So the Bay is a place where you would never be bothered. You just be like, walk around, collect things, wander from.
Well, it's the classic department store setup.
I guess it was how a department store felt. So I always kind of liked that. Now it took a long time to find what you wanted. You ended up having to walk all around. I mean, the compared to, say, the big city stores like the Calgary store, the St. Gatherine's store was really small, like going in retrospect. But at the time, it seemed like there was a lot in there for me to browse.
Yeah.
And as I said, things were usually cheap. Like if you went after Christmas, you would always get big sales and stuff. So I always had a soft spot for the Bay. It was a place where I could go shopping and feel safe, I wasn't going to be bothered by any pesky salespeople. But I mean, part of that was that it was understaffed, probably. That's probably one experience that people have, where you need help to get into a change room. And that was in the later years of the Bay, that has been my experience. It's just like, there's nobody around anywhere. You're like, where?
Yeah.
How do I get into a change room or whatever? But the Calgary Bay, when I moved to Calgary,
feels like you're in a warehouse, like just wandering around.
Especially the downtown Calgary one. It's just huge space, many floors, and I usually only went for clothing, and there, it was like
it's always like when you want to pay, you can't find anyone. At
the desks. I mean, it was over the years they just they de-staffed, you know.
Yeah.
So there was always fewer and fewer staff.
And like I have trouble with my sense of direction at the best of times, but I've often gone to the Bay and then not been able to find my way out.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, that is a thing for sure.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's probably a lot of people like me who maybe just they preferred a certain shopping experience that you can mostly get at the Bay.
Yeah.
You'd still get good name brands. They had a little bit of everything. It was usually on sale.
Yeah.
But that's not enough to keep a company going. People like me, like people who by definition don't like shopping and probably don't shop enough, because I hardly ever go clothing.
So you're saying
shopping.
You started shopping there as a kid and then you continued to shop
It was just
there.
safe. I mean, even the last time I needed something, I was visiting my mom when she still lived in St. Catharines, and I had forgotten to pack enough shirts. So I just it was Christmas time. I just went into the Bay.
Yeah.
And I was like, I need a couple of button-up shirts, and there was like a couple. It was a 2-for-1 sale. And I forget what brand it was, but it's like, I still wear them. That was like 4 years ago.
Yeah.
I still wear them all the time.
Can I tell you a few stories about the Bay?
Sure.
Or you have some more to tell?
I mean, no. I mean, I've honestly, by far, the most amount of time I've spent shopping in my life has been inside a Bay department store.
So now you're having a real crisis.
Like where am I going to go? For a while, last thing I'll say, for a while, I thought Nordstrom's would be a new spot for me. Because I was like, oh, I like this. This is a department store style.
I think they're owned by the Bay.
No, they closed.
Oh, they closed.
I mean, they closed their Canadian locations, or the ones in Calgary. So there was one at the Chinook Center.
Yeah.
And I was like, I went shopping there once. I was like, oh, I like this. This is very much the department store feel that I enjoy.
Yeah.
And then like a few months later, it was closed.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, never mind.
That's funny. That's really funny.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to tell you a few things.
Go for it.
May I?
Yeah.
What is, I was at a dinner party the other night, and it was like mostly, I knew the person hosting it, but not most of the other people there.
Yeah.
It was all women. And I was chatting with this one woman, and she was telling me how at one point in her life she lived in a small town, and then she moved to a bigger but not huge city.
Yeah.
And she said that like the way that she knew it was a big enough city was there was a bay.
You're right.
And she's like, well, there's a bay. Like it was like shorthand for this is a place where I can live, you know? And I was like, a bay, like a body of water or the department store? She's like, the department store.
Yeah.
And she's like, you know, you can get a nice cashmere sweater.
Yeah.
Which is what I always buy at the Bay, cashmere sweaters.
Classic items.
Yes. So that's one recent story related to the Bay. And then I said, well, it's closing. And she said, oh, I know. I don't know what I'm going to do.
Mm-hmm. You recently bought some, I
just bought a bunch of cashmere sweaters at the Bay.
Before you knew about this.
Yeah,
If you'd waited a while, you might have been able to get the liquidation sale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My grandmother who lived in Canada bought all her clothes at the Bay, and she was like this very kind of like sort of classic elegant dresser, always a cashmere sweater.
She was British.
Trousers.
She was like British.
Yeah, so she would have bought her clothes at like what's it called?
Marks and Spencer?
Marks and Spencer.
When that was around, yeah.
Yeah. But my other grandmother worked in department stores. She worked at Lord & Taylor as one of her first jobs.
Oh, and Lord & Taylor's line has been sold like in the Bay in recent years, right?
Yeah, the Bay ended up owning Lord & Taylor. Lord & Taylor is now closed as well.
Yeah.
But they owned a bunch of American department stores, including Saks Fifth Avenue.
They partnered with the Bay?
Yeah.
I was reading about it. It was complicated. I mean, they merged. So one of the ways that people... Okay, so the Bay...
And Neiman Marcus, which was also a place my grandmother was like
What was it called?
Neiman Marcus.
Neiman Marcus, that's right. So your grandmother kind of professionally was affiliated. Like she worked at these places?
She worked at a department store. She managed one ultimately, yeah.
Yeah. So
we spent a lot of time in them when I was a kid.
Of course.
Yeah.
Hanging out with
my nana.
Yeah.
But I was also going to say that, so that was in the States where my grandmother lived in Maryland. Then my family moved to Canada when I was 7. And then like you, I don't know. When I was a kid, I also remember like at some point, and I don't remember there being any kind of smooth transition. It went from like my parents just buying me clothes and telling me to wear them to like having no guidance at all about what to wear.
Yeah.
Or maybe, I didn't want guidance. I was like, I'm going to wear what I want. But I too went to the Bay a lot. And like I was more probably of a showy dresser than you were at the time. Like I was pretty into the outlandish outfits.
There was a period where I was a skater and stuff, but that's different time. Yeah, anyway, go ahead.
But I did buy all my tights. I always wore tights.
Yeah.
And I often wore 2 pairs of tights. I'd like rip holes in one pair.
Have the other one over top.
And then wear that over a different color of tight.
Cool. Two-tone tight action.
Yeah. And
so those are always from the Bay.
Pretty sure I stole that idea from my friend, but anyway.
Those are always from the Bay?
They were always from the Bay.
So the Bay made double the money on tights.
I had
Naomi.
so many tights, and I would often like sometimes after school. When in high school, my high school was near the downtown Bay.
Yeah,
and I would just go there and like browse the tights. I loved the tights, and I loved the hats because I kind of went through a phase where I liked hats, like Blossom style.
Blossom of 90s television.
Yeah, like I feel like I had some good fashion days as a kid, and I had some really bad fashion days because I was really just wanting to do something
outlandish,
really like.
But you were an urban,
creative.
But you were an urban kid too, so that was like also there's a hip like.
Yeah, but I wasn't really like hip in my dressing. Like some days, yes, but some days I was doing my own thing in a way that didn't work, and I remember people making fun of me. But anyway, whatever.
Well, whatever.
This is all beside the point.
Taking some big swings.
A lot of these accessories that I had were from the Bay, and I loved going there and looking at them. And then the other thing about the Bay, like in my youth in Ottawa, was that there's the downtown Bay still there. Not for long, I guess. And it's across the street from the Rideau Center, which is the downtown mall with the rest of the stuff. And the Bay, you can either go outside and cross Rideau Street to get to it, or there's like a above ground, like a bridge.
Yeah, like
enclosed bridge.
Pedestrian bridge.
Yeah. And basically to get downtown from my school, my high school, you'd like take a very quick walk, really cross the Rideau Canal, go up these stairs, you end up in the Rideau Center, then you go down the stairs in the Rideau Center, go through the Bay, and then you're in the market, which was like the fun place to hang out.
Yeah.
And whether that was during the day or at night, like I just spent a lot of time kind of traipsing through there to get to some other place. And then also just kind of like at night when the stores were closed, like the doors were often still open. So kids would just like hang around in there.
Yeah.
And there was like a McDonald's in the bay.
Yeah, in the bay.
Yeah, like all the merchandise was closed off.
Yes, they had the gates come down, but the hallway was open because it was considered part of the mall.
Yeah.
Required to access other parts.
So yeah, kids would just hang around in that area in the bay. And I had pivotal moments like of my life take place there.
Yeah.
Like I remember one of my first quote unquote boyfriends who I dated for a short time, we broke up.
There in the bay?
There.
You broke up in the bay.
Yes. We broke up in the bay.
Such a Canadian story. I bet there's so many relationships that started and ended.
Actually, I think what happened was we broke up in the Rideau Center because like the whole mall would be closed but still open, right? The store's still open. One time I got banned from the whole mall for like a month or something because I ran up the down escalator at night.
You're being punky.
Yeah. And the security guard said, you're banned. And then like the next day, my mom was like, let's go to the mall. And I just went and I was kind of worried, but nothing happened.
How could they?
Of course I wasn't
He
really
just
banned.
said you're banned?
Yeah.
But like didn't take your name or photo or anything? I mean,
not that I recall.
This is another era, of course. So
yeah.
Just like.
Don't come back.
Don't come back for a while.
Yeah. So anyway, of course I wasn't really banned. But then my point is, so I think we broke up in the Rideau Center because I remember going there to meet him and he was on this bench. And then anyway, we broke up and somewhere in there. And then I remember walking through the bay because we had to walk together to get to the bus stop.
Oh, so you had to keep walking together?
Yeah. And then we came through the bay and then as we were parting ways, I went, have a nice life. And walked away.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
And so that happened there.
And maybe he has had a nice life.
Maybe.
Or maybe not.
Who knows? I really don't know.
I hope not.
Well, that's a little much, really. And then I had other moments like that there. Like I won't narrate all of them, but it was just a place where I often was, you know?
Yeah, it was just a part of the landscape.
Yeah, it really was. And then if the stores were open, I just kind of bop around. The electronics were downstairs.
Yeah. I mean, you're not a techie person, so you're not like you're browsing the electronics, are you?
No, but somehow I remember like looking at them and being kind of
CDs. They probably had CDs, right?
Yeah, CDs. Yeah. It was the tights that really drew me in.
I guess the era of just a store that sells everything is just not viable these days with the way online shopping works. I feel like if you're going to have an in-store experience shopping, you kind of want to know what you're finding. So you're going to maybe smaller stores that have a more identifiable identity for the kind of clothing they sell, like what demographic, what style, whatever. And so going to the Bay is like, it's like when you go there, you're not sure exactly what you can get a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
And it's also a huge footprint and extremely expensive real estate to occupy. So the idea of a store that sells electronics and clothing is just like, what? It's weird.
It's the department store that's no longer a thing, right? Like this is why the Bay is dying. Is like that place where you go for everything.
Well, I mean, of course, there's
kitchenware. You can go buy your bed at the Bay. You can buy like your Bay furniture. Blanket, all your bedding, all your kitchenware, everything. They
have had like restaurants in the Bay.
Oh, right? I used to go to the restaurant in the Bay too.
Okay, well, what was that restaurant like? What was it called?
It was, I don't remember now. Yeah, it was in the basement. It had this almost like diner-ish feel.
It was more like a diner?
Yeah, if I recall correctly.
In Ottawa?
Yeah, and this was in the 90s. Like my later experiences of the Bay were realizing that they had like really nice cashmere sweaters.
For older demographic.
For older people like myself. No, I was like, I'm going to start dressing like my grandmother. And then I
guess she actually was very stylish.
Yeah, well, both of my grandmothers actually.
Yeah.
So kind of a combination of their styles requires a trip to the Bay.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, my mom, I don't recall myself eating in the Bay, but it did have on the upper floor. This was actually on the ceiling. So on the top floor of the Bay in the Penn Center where
Mhm.
you had a bit of a view of the surrounding area. They had, I forget what it was called. Was it called Devonian something? It was actually supposed to be a higher end lunch spot.
Okay.
And I know my mom went there. She met her friend for lunch quite
Oh,
frequently
okay.
there. Her friend worked at Reitman's.
Mm.
And so my mom would sometimes meet her near her work in the mall and then go to the Bay restaurant up top. And that was a higher end one as
Okay,
compared to
okay.
say the diner that was in Zellers, right? No, like the department store thing, like I mean, the store that sells everything, it still exists in the discount format, right? Like in Walmart, it's the place you go for low prices, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I guess just for something that would be more middle or higher end, people aren't doing that, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. I mean, I think a lot of people order clothes online,
Well, that's a big part of it, yeah.
but also like you want something from a specific store.
Then you'd go there. Like I'd say.
Like
Yeah.
you'd buy it from Banana Republic or whatever, not from
Yes.
the Bay. Because the Bay, like to have all these different
The big
brands together
Yeah.
in this way, like it's become, I guess, confusing. And like you were saying, that ramshackle feeling of like
It's yeah.
all this stuff thrown in there.
Yeah.
I think it just like throws people off and no one likes that anymore. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean they tried to, I know the downtown Calgary one, they would just have sections that are like different. They tried to make it be like this is the boutique for this brand. This is the boutique corner for this other brand. And it did feel like, oh, now we've recreated the mall
Yeah.
inside one store.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like but it's like just a corner. It's not the whole store.
Yeah.
And you could go out into the mall and maybe actually find that store.
Yeah.
So it was yes, it's not of this era, and it's not really, yes.
But what about like the Bay blanket?
Yeah, I mean, they had items. Like they did have, for me, like the Bay was actually where I would get a couple of specific brands. It would be like Levi's and Ralph Lauren.
Mm-hmm,
Those were
for
like
me is Lauren Taylor and the
Lord,
Bay.
Lord and Taylor and the Bay brand.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so I did seek out specific brands at the Bay.
Oh, and Hue tights.
Hue. I guess, okay. So, I mean, I remember when Eaton's closed, and that was a long-standing Canadian institution. And did anybody really care after it was gone? No. I mean, have you missed Eaton's? It was like 20 years ago, I think, at this point.
But I don't know. For me, there wasn't anything specific that was like, oh, I want this. I'm going to Eaton's to get it.
See, I think younger people didn't shop at Eaton's at all, but we did at least, 15, 20 years, like shop at the Bay still.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. There was nothing to miss from Eaton's for me.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I guess it's some sentimental thing. And I know it's like this weird, complicated colonialist history and stuff. But the fact that the Bay is like actually connected with Canada's
it's like older than
history. It's older than
a lot
Canada.
older than Canada, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that just kind of blows my mind.
Yeah, but I mean, it's very hard to draw a line really between that institution and the one that existed till yesterday or whatever. It's
it does. Yeah.
It's changed so much. I mean, even like they did some shenanigans. I don't know if it's shenanigans, but what they did is they moved their real estate holdings to an American company that's no longer associated with the Bay Canada.
Yeah.
So the one thing they really had of value, which was their large real estate holdings. Is
that the Hudson's Bay Trading Company? That's what they...
They also own Saks but it's like an American conglomeration.
Yeah.
And they transferred their valuable real estate holdings there, or it was sold by some mechanism, so that the Bay department store in Canada, they don't own anything except their merchandise, and they've been renting their own, what used to be their own property. They've been renting it. So, I mean, it's not. I mean, in what sense was this really a Canadian company anymore? I guess is my
right.
But these are complicated when you get into these questions of like kind of national capitalism. It's like, this stuff is just all over the globe. So
of course, I mean, it really is just a sentimental association with like learning about history and like grade 6 and being like, oh, this has the same name as that department store. Like, I just have this like really vivid memory of like trying to put those together.
Yeah. Did you ever get attacked by the perfume counter?
Oh yeah.
They left men alone. It was like you were.
I always want to do a makeover and like spray stuff.
You had like diplomatic immunity as a man, like walking through there in the 90s. Nobody would bother you.
But that was also like a big association for me and my family because like the makeup perfume area of a department store. Like I also had family members who worked there. My cousin worked in the like one of those booths, the cosmetics booth, and like
Yeah.
and actually that was when you first walked in off the street when it wasn't closed off in Ottawa. It was like this incredibly potent smell of like all the different perfumes.
Yeah.
But it was, my cousin lived in Maryland. She worked at a cosmetics counter in Maryland. But
Yeah.
like that whole culture of like you're walking by and they're like, you look terrible. Come over here. Let me put all this makeup on you. And now
Yeah.
you can buy all of it. Like that was also in my blood.
It's a weird one. I mean, that was also a sales technique of another era, like to put that out front. So
Yeah,
that you
yeah.
so you had to pass this gauntlet.
Yeah.
I wonder what that was about. I mean, it was aimed for female shoppers.
Well, yeah, of course
obviously.
it sucks you in because you're like vain and you're like, oh, I better. And like they're standing there, these women are standing there looking all perfect.
They
and
always
like,
put
oh,
the
I could make you look perfect.
They put
too.
the extra glamorous ones out there.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And then you're like, oh, I need makeup. Yeah.
Doesn't really happen in stores anymore, does it? I mean,
No,
yeah.
I haven't seen that in so long.
yeah, up front it was just like it's
Or
always there.
smelled it.
It was just like just glass cases that had the perfume bottles in there. But
Yeah.
again, good luck finding anyone. There'd
Yeah,
be one
yeah.
person somewhere.
But it's true, you'd be walking by and like you get sprayed. Someone comes at you with a lipstick.
That definitely still happened in the 90s.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you could actually go there and just be like, can you put makeup on me? And they'd put like a full face of makeup on you. But then they tried to make you buy it, of course.
Mm.
But it was a way like before a party or something to like get a free face of makeup.
Did you do that?
A couple of times.
Really?
I'm sure I did. My friends did. For sure. I didn't like really like that style of makeup. Like the
Right.
full face of makeup always looked really weird on me, but
Mm.
and at that era, like it wasn't totally over the like full blush and like we did an episode on Dallas.
That's right.
You could easily end up with that.
I feel like the Bay was doing booming business in the heyday of Dallas.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, what else does it say, really? I'm sure a lot of people have memories of the Bay.
Yeah.
Leave them in the comments if you want.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. I mean, it's just like, does it really matter that the Bay is closing to our lives? Okay, probably not. But is there like a frisson, a sentimental
Yeah. It
nostalgia?
feels like, I wonder if like they were waiting for this moment of heightened nationalism, thinking maybe they'd get a bit of a bailout.
Yeah, maybe.
Somehow by announcing their
Right.
long-standing financial problems.
Yeah.
Now, I kind of wonder if they're like, well, maybe we'll get a little bit of support, but I don't know if
Yeah.
there's been a public swelling of support. It's been mostly like, when do the sales start?
Well, yeah, I feel like I need to get in there and buy a lot of stuff.
Are you going to feel like predatory doing so? I will feel a little bit,
Yeah, sure.
but it's like,
I feel predatory, like literally like a predator thinking about it.
yeah, well, like you want to do it.
Like I'm going to go and tear things apart with my teeth.
You're going to go get it? I mean, you're looking forward to it, in other words.
Yeah, in the same way that a predator looks forward to ripping apart its prey.
Well, it does.
I know, I'm saying that.
Okay, what are you going on about?
I'm saying I feel carnivorous towards
Okay, so
Bay's
I'm feeling
retail
like a little timorous
items.
myself. Like I'm feeling like, oh, I don't know. I'm gonna feel a little bit bad, but who cares? I should just get the sale, shouldn't I?
Well, what harm could it do?
I know. So are we gonna go? Are we probably gonna go together, right?
Yeah, let's go.
When the sales start. I mean, they could have.
Well, I don't know. It might be full of people. Like
It'll be very busy, but
you
if
hate
it's
that.
it is, but if it's if it's a weekday,
Yeah.
if we can go in a weekday, like during the day, then maybe it can avoid the crowds.
Okay. Let's try that.
Let's try that maybe.
Well, what do we want to get?
Whatever. So yeah, I
mean-
I haven't been in a long time actually.
Yeah.
I've hardly been at all since COVID.
I've ordered stuff online,
Yeah.
but I haven't really gone in there and browsed around.
Mhm.
Maybe that's part of it too, is people just aren't into that browsing around.
You go to the mall and then you have to be again. It's like a mall within a mall. That's kind of what
Yeah.
what happened.
I mean, as we were talking earlier, I was thinking about how when I was a kid and we'd all like the movie Mall Rats, I guess, like hang around at the mall.
Mhm.
Like I don't think that's like a thing anymore.
I don't know. I'm not really sure.
I mean, not only would we hang around, but we would buy stuff.
Yeah, there must be kids hanging out in the mall somewhat, but
But I mean, I remember like literally, I mean, obviously before pre-phone, like pre-smartphone, pre-internet, you know, really being able to make plans the same way we do now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I remember going to the bay, that part of the bay that I was talking about, or just going to the mall, the food court, certain places in Ottawa, and just like hanging around and waiting until someone I knew came by, and then being like, hey, what you doing? Like, waiting to find people to hang out with.
It was the town square.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, R.I.P. to the Bay.
Yeah. A
And-
way of life.
Yeah.
The fur trade.
Fur trade. Where will I get my beaver pelts now?
You're gonna have to collect your own beavers
Oh,
and hunt them.
Well, they have some nice beavers downtown.
I know,
actually.
but I feel like
In
they're our friends.
they're not huntable.
You're
no.
not gonna take their pelts.
It's not open season.
Those are their pelts. Thank you very much. They're wearing them.
It's like there's a little beaver dam in this park downtown, and people go and they'll walk around a path and they're like looking at the water to see if
I
they
think
can
we talked about it in the
see
podcast
a
before.
beaver pop up.
Yeah.
And it's really fun. It's
And
really
sometimes
kind
there's
of
a baby swimming.
some smaller ones, some bigger ones.
Yeah.
It's pretty nice. It's pretty nice. But
Yeah.
just imagine someone trying to hunt them.
Well, there's only
There's
one
like-
family.
Yeah,
You
they
can't,
wouldn't last long.
you can't take their pelts.
Just some wild man covered in mud, just like coming out and carrying a beaver by the tail.
wanting to wear it on his head as a hat. It's not right.
Well, anyway, okay. Thanks for talking about the bay with me.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Bye.